Hi.
Hi.
We're SpielMill. This is another top 10.
Except this one is we're going to go in the Wayback Machine, and we're going to look at games that were published before the year 2000. So 1999 and backwards.
So what we wanted to do was do a top 10 for each decade. The 2020s, the 2010s, the 2000s. But before 2000, it was kind of like, I don't want to, we might want to lump those together.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a pre-2000 list.
Absolutely. And I have some honorable mentions that are like really pre-2000 or like pre-modern gaming. So
yeah,
maybe we'll just jump right into those.
All right. So what's your honorable mentions?
So
or what's your first one, or how do you want to do it?
Well, I have 4 actually, but I'll go quickly through
I have
them,
3.
I promise.
So
first is Life. I love the game of Life. We talk a lot about the pursuit of happiness as being sort of the evolution of life. Life wasn't much of a game, but I still feel like in some ways it was a precursor to games like Agricola that are taking sort of the everyday things and making a game out of them instead of something like war. And I love the fact that the decisions that you made in that, like whether or not you went to college or whether you took on a trade, actually really impacted your choices for the rest of the game and your, what you got for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then I also like that actually you could kind of role play in it. So, when the kids were growing up, a lot of times I would do 2 women or 2 men and, just to model that, traditional standard gender norms didn't always have to be the thing, and you didn't have to take that on in this game, which I really liked.
Yeah, of all the sort of old school roll and move games, Life was one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what's one of yours?
Well, one of mine, this one I didn't include because it's technically an RPG. If it wasn't my top 10, it'd be pretty high in my top 10, and that's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I was kind of like, do I include it? I decided not to include it because it's a board game top 10, but it is one of my favorite games of all time.
That makes sense. So I also want to give a shout out to Clue. Clue was a really good game for its time. I forgot to tell you, Life was published in 1960. And then Clue was 1949. And I mean, it is the progenitor of games like Detective and Chronicles of Crime. Like you're solving a mystery. And that was just so inventive. Nobody picked up on that until really much later in modern gaming.
I mean, they made a movie about Clue. So Clue the movie.
They sure did.
Another one of my honorable mentions is a classic of a game, and I really do enjoy it, and it was really close to my top 10, but didn't make the cut, and that's Scotland Yard.
Yeah.
Scotland Yard is kind of a mainstream kind of gamer's game. It's a hidden movement game, and it's pretty easy to learn, I think, and it's really
this
fun.
Would be in your top 10. I'm surprised.
Yeah, it didn't make it. I'm surprised by some of the things on my list. I'll talk a little bit about some numbers before we dive into the 10.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So another one of mine is Yahtzee, published in 1959. It's a roll and write. Like it is. Yeah. It is the grandparent of all of our modern roll and writes, and it has push your luck in it with the dice, which of course is still a mechanism that you see in a lot of games today. That's a lot of fun, and Dice Throne is basically Yahtzee, so I really enjoy it. I played a lot with my family as a kid. Now I prefer something with a little more theme, like Dice Throne or I can't remember the name of the roll and write we like, but it's a great game.
Yeah. My other honorable mention, and this is a really good game. The only reason I didn't include it is because it's been so long since I've played it. I just don't remember it that well. But I know it was really good, and that's Raw.
Yeah.
Reiner Knizia's Raw.
I was going to mention that too, actually.
So,
the last one I want to mention is Boggle, which was 1972, and this is just my mother and I played the hell out of this game. We love this game.
It boggles the mind.
It does. And a lot of the modern word puzzles that we really like are kind of based on Boggle. Yeah. And so it doesn't crack the top 10 at this point in my life, but it is the basis for so many of the things that we still do and still love to do. And it's so much fun. So
All right. Now, before we dive in, I will say that out of my top 10, 8 of them are from the 1990s.
I didn't count mine. Hold on one.
Yep, go ahead. But yeah, I was curious how many were just recent.
7.
More recent. Okay, 7 out of 10. So it's a very heavy 1990s bent. And then I think it's actually 3 games I've only played online.
I think I only have 1.
Okay. It's interesting. And it's just how it turned out. Yeah.
I think I know what yours are going to be. There were a few games that I've only played online that were hovering close to my top 10.
Right.
But I haven't played them enough, and I had enough games that I've played that I've played, you know, offline
right.
that I really like that cracked the top 10. So, all right.
And like I said, D&D would be like possibly number 1. It'd be up there.
Right.
It'd be high.
Of course.
So, but it was an RPG, so I didn't include it.
All right, number 10. This is the one that I've only played online.
Okay.
And that is the 1980 release, Can't Stop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good choice.
It's snappy. You can play it real quick. You can play it with anybody. It's fast. And it's got push your luck in it, you know, going back to that Yahtzee element of like, I'm just going to roll the dice one more time and then busting. And I really enjoy it. I'd actually love to try the physical copy. I'm not sure we need it, but I'd love to try it.
Yeah. I think it's, it might be one that'd be good to have in the collection, but we do have a big collection, so we don't have to have everything.
It might be fiddly in person, too, is the thing I would worry about.
A little bit, but you just roll dice and you just move the things. I don't think it's that fiddly. I don't know. It won't move quite as quick as, you know, with it automated.
Right.
But yeah, good game.
What's your number 10? My
number 10 is a game you have not played. And I think our top 10s are going to be a little different because I've played more games in this set, I believe. And my number 10 is a souped up version of Clue, kind of, and it's Mystery of the Abbey. Mystery of the Abbey is from Bruno Fedeli, and it's just like, it's kind of Clue. It takes place in an abbey, and there's someone dies, and you have to figure out who they are. But it has more characteristics that you have to look at, like whether they're bearded or not bearded, whether they're thin or obese or whatever, you know. And the one of the fun things about it is sometimes a game of Clue can sort of go on and on a little bit, or it's like so formulaic, and because of the additional characteristics, this is a little less formulaic.
Right.
But what else makes it a little less formulaic is that there's a card passing thing that happens. And as it gets later in the game, it gets closer to solving it, the card passing happens more and more aggressively, so much that it becomes like kind of chaotic. Like you got to pass like 4 cards. You can pass 4 cards. So like the cards are going around with all the things that you can eliminate. And so it just really accelerates the end of the game, which is nice. The game never outstays its welcome.
Right. Yeah. I would really love to try this. You talk about it a lot. I know we kept it. We didn't get rid of this one, so we should try to get a group together to play it.
So if you liked Clue, if you liked Clue as a kid, Mystery of the Abbey is kind of like a little better.
Yeah.
That's
all right.
Okay.
Very good. All right. So my number 9 is from 1973, which actually surprised me. And it's a 2-player only chessy kind of game, and that is Tally Ho.
Oh, good choice.
It's abstract. It's basically you're flipping over tiles and then, you know, kind of trying to bump others off, right? But the theme actually works really well with the abstract because you're either the hunter and the logger or lumberjack or the animals. And if you're the animals, you know, the fox is trying to eat the ducks. The bear's trying to eat the hunter. Love that. Love it when the bear eats the hunter, assuming I'm the bear. And of course, the fox, the lumberjack wants to cut down the trees, et cetera, et cetera. So the theme actually kind of works on this. It's like rare to have an abstract work with a theme, but it really does. I really like this game. You're better at this than me. You've played a ton of it though. This is one of the first games we played together too. And I really like it. So Tally Ho, that's my number 9.
Yeah, that's a good choice. It didn't quite make my list because thematically, I love it. And then I just didn't make it for gameplay. It was close to being an honorable mention.
But I meant to look at the designer. It was Rudy Hoffman, who I've never heard of. And I'm just looking at what else he designed. I don't see anything that jumps out that I recognize. Yeah. All right. That's my number 9.
All right. Good choice. Okay. So my number 9, this is a game I've only played online, but I've realized I've really enjoyed it, and I've played a lot of it on Yucata in particular. I tried to buy it once. This is a funny story, but there's another game with almost the same name, and I bought that one instead.
Oh. Well, what is it?
It's Kahuna. So Kahuna is this game with these different islands, and you're trying to build bridges between the islands, and if you build more bridges between... if there's 3 bridges to the island, you build 2 bridges, you control that island. But then somebody else can take that island control away from you. Right. And there's different ways that happens. So it's a very abstract game with islands. So, but it looks kind of neat, but it's basically an abstract game.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. I really enjoy it. It's very tense, though. It is super tense. And I'm not upset that we didn't get it, because I don't know that we would play it that much. Right. But I liked it, so that's why when I saw this game on sale and I thought it was the same game, I bought it.
We got rid of the other one, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's a good game. Didn't even crack I don't think it came close to cracking my top 10, but I've only played it a couple times. But I can see why you would love it. Yeah,
I really enjoy it. So that's my number 9. It's Kahuna. This is from 1998. Let's see. The designer is Gunter Cornett. And it's from Cosmos. So it's part of their 2-player line. Cosmos 2-player line. So.
All right.
Yep. All right. What's your number 8?
Well, my number 8 is from 1999. So it's getting into the more modern gaming. And it's from Kramer and Kiesling. And it's Tikal.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah. Your archaeologist, raiding a country to take away its artifacts. And it has these face down hexes. So you're drawing the face down hexes, you're flipping them over, and then it will maybe give you something, but you're placing that. So love that, sort of like a Carcassonne, like what am I going to get? Where am I going to place it? Right. And then you've got action points. So you've got 10 action points, which seems like a lot. And I love that mechanism too. And we've seen a lot of designers, I don't know if this was the first game, but it's certainly an early game, I think, probably to use the action point system.
Absolutely.
And I really love that because it gives you a lot of decision making space, right? I've got these 10 points. What am I going to do? How am I going to use them to get the most out of this turn? Now, this one is sort of an area majority where you score based on how many people are like who has the most people at a temple. And that's not our favorite mechanism, but I really love a lot of the pieces that sort of get you to that point. It has a lot of the things that show up in some of my later favorites.
Okay, good choice.
That's my number 8. Tikal, what about you?
My number 8 is the first crossover on our list. It was made in 1980. It's Can't Stop.
Oh, yeah.
So Can't Stop is this great push your luck game. You just roll some dice, move up the vines, and try to be the first one to complete 3 vines. And it's really, really simple, but also addictively fun. And this is another game I've only played online because we don't have it.
Yeah.
So, but I've played it over 250 times. So I played it a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like it.
It's a very good game. I won't say too much about it because you already talked about it. But yeah, I mean, it's a great game.
It is. Sure is.
Especially for 1980. That's a early design, early smart design.
It is. It is. Okay, so my number 7 is from 1995, another one of these in the 90s. And it's great with a group. Oh, I guess I should tell you what it is, huh? It's Pitch Car.
Nice.
It's great with a group. It's got this amazing table presence. Anybody can play. It has to be one of the first tabletop games to mix that toy factor with with the game factor, right? To create a dexterity game. And I know that there are some like Fireball Island that kind of came first, but the toy's kind of a little bit more of a gimmick. And here, like the toy is the game, right? And I think that, which is what you see in most dexterity games, is it's not so much a gimmick, like that is the game. And so
good ones anyway.
Yeah, the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know I don't know my history of games super well, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is one of the first ones to do that. And it's still around today. So obviously it did it really well. And that's by Jean Dupoel. I don't know if I pronounced that even remotely close, but that is my number 7, and that is Pitch Car.
Nice choice. It's really good. Really love Pitch Car. It's fun. My number 7 is a game I've only played online, but we do own, and we just haven't played it yet. It does require 3 players or more, and that's Bus.
Oh, yeah.
So Bus is this cool game that I've played on SpielMill, which is a very small site that has like 8 games total or something, if that many. But I used to play Wallenstein on there, and I played Bus on there. Bus is just, it's interesting. You just it's kind of a pick up and deliver game, right? But you're going to bars, to home, to work. You're taking the bus here and there, and you're trying to, and it has this really weird mechanic where you can stop time, which I seem to never quite fully grasp, but I kind of enjoy it anyway. But you can stop time.
I wish I could stop time sometimes.
Yeah, especially when work is involved.
Yeah.
But this is designed by Jean Domen and Joris Wersinga. This was from Splotter Spellin, at least. I think they did the most recent. I got the version we got via Capstone, but I think Splotter was involved in the publishing. So, but we're very excited about it. We got the reprint, so
we gotta get somebody over here to play that with us.
Yeah, we need 3. So, but it's a pretty cool older game.
All right, awesome.
So, yeah, that's my number 7, Bus.
My number 6 is actually probably a bit of a cheat because I think I've probably not played the original version. I've only played later ones. But that is Werewolf, the 1986 game. And I like some of the later social deduction games better, but I think this is probably, again, I don't know my history very well, but I think this is probably one of the first social deduction games. So I'm just like, again, what a clever mechanism to bring into gaming. I love that, that is player interaction to me. That's a lot more fun than what you often get, which is where I've got to take you out, or I've got to, dominate you on the,
it can be very negative player interaction, but it's fun.
It can be, but it's fun. It's quick. It's very social. You're talking. It doesn't feel like I've put all my resources into building up and then somebody's destroying me.
Right.
It feels more like we're trying to dance verbally. So I don't know. I love the concept. I love that type of game. And so that Werewolf is my number 6, and that is by Dmitry Davidoff and Andrew Plotkin.
This was on the cusp of my honorable mentions. So
yeah, very good.
Also think highly of it. I just had a lot to choose from.
Yes.
All right, my number 6, right? Lose track. My number 6 is kind of a classic game. Used to be the number 1 game on Board Game Geek. And I played it on Board Game Geek actually more than I played it in person, but I played it in person as well, and that's Tigris and Euphrates. Board Game Geek used to have an online implementation, and I used to play it on Board Game Geek. It was pretty fun. This is a Reiner Knizia game. It's one of his best games ever. It is an area control game, but a very Euro one. So it's very interesting. I think you might like it with some reservations.
I really want to play it. I mean, whether I like it or not, I really want to play it.
We actually have 2 versions of it, because we have Tigris and Euphrates, and we have the reprint Yellow and Yangtze. I don't think we're going to keep both versions long term, but I want to play both.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a fun weekend to play both of them.
Yeah, so that'd be fun to do. And we can compare them, and maybe we'll do a video about that when we do it.
Yeah,
so
sounds good.
It is still ranked number 106 on Board Game Geek, so it's still very highly ranked. It just used to be number 1.
Yeah.
So that's going back some time, though. All right, that's my number 6, Tigris and Euphrates.
My number 5 is the oldest game on my list. I can guarantee you it's not going to be on your list, and that is Pinochle.
Yeah, I eliminated that.
Yeah, I figured so.
It's okay, but
it's a family thing. So we used to play this. I used to play this with my parents. I used to when we would go visit my grandmother. My
right, it's got a huge nostalgia factor.
Yeah, my aunt and my parents and my grandmother would sit around and play. So it's got a huge nostalgia factor, but I also really like it. And it has, again, a mechanism that you'll see in some games that I love later. And that is that silent communication, because you've got a partner and you're trying to, and I think Bridge has the same thing, where you're trying to like bid for meld, and you're trying to make sure that you're like getting enough of the tricks and not too many tricks. And you have to kind of do that with your partner without talking about it. And so it's based on like, you know, kind of knowing like if I go high, you know, maybe you should go low, or just kind of like reading each other and knowing the game and kind of like communicating without actually communicating. So to me, that makes it a little bit more fun than some other just straight up card games, because it's got that extra level of like, I guess, player interaction, but like team things going on. So and it just leads to some real like moments when somebody like puts down the last trick and scoops it all away when you didn't expect it. So my mother was a shark though, because she could count cards without even trying, and so it was, I never was the one that scooped the cards away. All right, so that is my number 5, and that is the 1864 game of Pinochle.
All right, that's reaching way back. I have nothing going back to 1800s. You know, and surprising a little bit that chess didn't make even my honorable mentions, because I played a lot of chess, but I don't know, I burnt out on it or something. So
I thought it might be there, but okay.
So my number 5 is the most mainstream of my top 10 in terms of like classic mainstream games from the 20th century, and that is Pictionary.
Oh, that's a great choice.
I really enjoy Pictionary, and even when I play other games like Cranium that have like different elements, I always look forward to the Pictionary part. Like, you know, the drawing part. I cannot draw for my life, but I enjoy the game. I'm at least good at breaking it down logically. You just can't always tell what my drawing is.
It might be logical, but it's not identifiable.
So, but I'm good at like identifying ways to get the clue across. So, I may not be good at one part of it. Okay, I don't know, but I enjoy it. So I really enjoy it, and I kind of enjoy all of those. I like charades, and like I like you know. But I really enjoy Pictionary. I just have a lot of nostalgia for it. You know, the designer of Pictionary is Rob Angel. I don't know. That's all. I thought people would know that. It's been published by a gazillion different publishers. So I won't list those off. But I don't know.
Well, I really want Telestrations.
Yeah.
Which is a form of that. That's actually still on my wish list of something.
I did. So. I played it once, and it was kind of it was fun, but I was terrible at it. But it was fun. Yeah. It was very fun. So it'd be going. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost put Balderdash on my list for the same reason. I really loved that game. And again, it's that word thing. It's like trying to figure out what the words mean. And we've got a lot of games that are derivative of it. So
we do.
Yeah. All right.
All right. That's my number 5. That is Pictionary.
Great choice. My number 4 is from one of my all-time favorite designers, and that is Uwe Rosenberg, and the game is Bonanza.
Bonanza,
from 1997. And so, a couple things I really love about this. First of all, you can't rearrange your cards. I love when that shows up. It is just I was going to say mind F word, but maybe I won't say that, because we're so used to like, you get the cards, you rearrange them, put them in suits or whatever. You can't do that. It's like Scout. It's like the same mechanism that's in Scout that makes Scout so interesting. So
I kind of forgot that was in Bonanza.
So I love that. And then when you play your cards, you have to play them into the field, and you have to play one into your field every single round, which I think you've only got 2 fields. I could be wrong about that, but it's a limited number, which means that because you can't rearrange them, sometimes you're going to have to harvest them for like 1 point, because the more you have, the better you do. So that's why the fact that you can't rearrange it becomes a really big thing. Well, how do you get more points? Negotiation, trading. Normally a mechanism I do not like in games, but here everybody wants something. Everybody's cards are all messed up, right? So there's actually a chance that somebody's going to want to give you what you want if you give them what they want. And so that kind of takes that negotiation to a level, or that trading to a level where I don't hate it, or I don't like it. Doesn't it isn't uncomfortable to me. So we played this with the two of us in the hotel after Origins in 2019, I think. And I'm not sure we played it right because it took forever and we ended up with a zillion cards, but it was a lot of fun. And then we've played it online with groups. And I would really like to play this in person because I love each of those elements. They show up in a lot of my favorite games later on. I think it's just really neat. I love the way that all comes together.
I think I'd like to put this on a short list to play again because it's been a long time since I played it.
Yeah.
Except for online recently, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I think I need to because I'm really bad at learning games online, so I needed to relearn the game, so it didn't work.
I almost got you the flower version for your birthday, but it's just Bonanza. It's just same thing with flowers.
We don't need another version. Yeah. Probably. Maybe.
That's why we'll see.
I don't know. But it's fun. So I don't know. I don't remember it that well though.
Well, so that's my number 4.
All right. Good choice. My number 4 is a game that I think you don't hear much about, but I think we both really enjoy it. It's a very Euro game, and it is Merchants of the Middle Ages. And this is from Wolfgang Kramer and Richard Ulrich. And Kramer's, of course, a well-known designer. I mean, really well-known designer. And he's done a lot of good games. But this is a pick up and deliver game, and it's got a pretty cool track where you track the cost of the goods as they go up and down. And if you're not careful, you could take a risk and the price will plummet or do the inverse and really reward you. So you really need to pay attention to this game, but it's all sort of predictable, and to some degree. And then I don't know, and we love the big wooden carts that you have in this game. So I don't know, I really like it. I think this is a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I might have more to say about that later.
Okay, that's my number 4 is Merchants of the Middle Ages.
All right. My number 3 is from 1998, and it is a Knizia game. Of course, this list is heavy with Knizia.
Yeah.
And that is Through the Desert.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, and so it's a little more player than we usually like, or you can kind of mess with other people's games, but we play it pretty friendly. I think it could be really aggressive with the wrong group, but again, we play it friendly, and so it kind of works out okay. I like that there are several paths to victory, or different ways you can get points. Like you could have the longest caravan, or you could dominate, the oases. And I really like that in games. It gives you some choices. Does have this thing where if you're not careful, you could get blocked from water, and then you're really screwed. But or somebody could cut you off. But again, we play it pretty friendly. So it's a really solid game. It's beautiful table presence. It is, again, it's a 1998 game, and yet it still feels, relevant and modern.
It's a Euro. It's a pure Euro.
It's a pure Euro. It doesn't feel outdated. So,
it's a good one.
That is my number 3.
Yeah, and I'll say that it's very pretty too. The pastels.
Oh, so pretty.
It's being reprinted. I'm not sure how that's going to look, but I think All Play is reprinting it, right? And then, so if you're interested in a copy, go to All Play's website and check it out. But yeah, this is a good classic game.
Yep. All right. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is the second crossover of the list. And it is Pitch Car.
Wow, that's very high.
That's very high. Yeah, I like dexterity games though quite a bit.
You do.
I really do. And Pitch Car is really fun.
It is really fun. That loop.
Yeah, I think it's a little fiddly. Like the tracks don't stay together as well as I want them to. So sometimes you have little issues with that, but I think there's ways probably to get better at it. But it's hard. I wish there was a way to get more parts to make bigger tracks.
Yeah.
But it seems like Eagle Griffin's no longer selling it, or maybe not, or they're down to the last bits of supply.
Yeah, and it's pricey. It's expensive.
It's pricey as well. So yeah. But I really like Pitch Car. It's a really fun game. We've already talked about it, so I won't say too much. But it is a flicking game. You're flicking discs around a racetrack, and with the loop-de-loop. We do have the loop-de-loop, and we have, so we do have a little bit of that kind of stuff. So it is fun.
All right, great.
So that's my number 3, Pitch Car.
My number 2 is a crossover.
Oh, all right.
And my number 1 and number 2, I went back and forth and it did end up landing at number 2.
Okay.
And that is Merchants of the Middle Ages.
Oh, okay, I knew this would be on your list.
Yeah, we played this early in my gaming history, and I loved it. It's so, first of all, the 3D pieces that kind of both dexterity, tangible, toy factor part of it, I really love. I love the sort of the strategy of trying to get that track as high as you can without it going over.
Yep.
You're moving your wagons. You can't sell your goods at every single stop, so you kind of have to be strategic about where you're going and how you're moving it. And there's a couple other elements in there that come in that make it really sort of an interesting puzzle.
It can be a little cutthroat.
It can be a little cutthroat, and there's a negotiation piece to it. I will say that we don't like the negotiation piece. We just ignored it.
Yeah.
We actually just figured out a way to we standardize the cost for it when we play it, so that we don't have to bother with the negotiation, because it's such a minor piece of the game. It is not dependent on that. It holds up really well without it. And so that is my number 2, the 1999 game of Merchants of the Middle Ages. Really love this game.
Okay, good choice, good choice. My number 2 is another one from The Good Doctor. It is Lost Cities.
Yeah.
And this is probably my favorite 2-player game, possibly of all time. I mean, this is really high on my 2-player list. Like, this is, like, when it comes to games that are just designed for 2, Lost Cities is one of my favorites. It is so good, and it's so simple. It's a card game. You have 5 suits. You try to play cards from 1 to 10 in that order, and then you can play handshakes before the cards to double, triple, quadruple the points that you get.
Yep.
However, if you start on a suit, if you don't play a suit, you get no points for that suit. You get 0. But if you start on a suit and fail to get cards that add up to 20, you lose points. And if you doubled and tripled that, you lose double or triple points. So it's really tricky. You've got to manage and make the right decisions. It is so good. The decision making is excellent. It's quick. It's flashy. It's just fun. The cards are beautiful as well.
Yep.
So that's my number 2 is Lost Cities from The Good Doctor.
Well, we have a crossover at number 1. I don't know what your number 1 is. I think I have a guess, but I'm not sure. I kind of thought your number 2 would be your number 1, but that is my number 1 is Lost Cities.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah.
Crossover.
It's basically solitaire. You're building a line of cards from 1 to 10, but there's that added element, that interactive, that if I see you building a color, let's say I see you building red, and I'm not building red, but I've got the 10 in my hand, I'm not going to discard it. There's so much decision space. There's so much strategy involved in this.
And you
game.
have to hate draft a little bit.
You do have to hate draft. You absolutely do. And this is one of those games that I don't care about hate drafting. Like, I don't care that you hate draft on me. I'm hate drafting on you. Like, you can't play it any other way.
Right.
And it's fair. Each round is fairly quick. I mean, if you play to, depending on how many points you play to, it could go a little bit longer, but you can teach this to anybody. You can play it with anybody. Pretty much everybody gets it. Never play this with anybody that didn't like it. It's super satisfying. It's super addictive. You just want to play again and again and again. Really, it's a good game. It's not my usual type of game that I love, but it just works. It's that Knizia magic. He really is a very good game designer.
He is. So that's a good choice.
Aside.
Yeah, good choice. Obviously, it was my number 2.
Yeah. All right. So what's your number 1?
My number 1 is also a crossover. And it is Tikal.
Oh, okay.
I really love the exploration element of Tikal. Like, I just love how it's like exploring the different pyramids and discovering them, and it's just it's neat, and it's 3D. It's pretty. It's you got the action point system, which you talked about, which I think works really well. It's just a really fun game, and I've played it quite a bit online in addition to in person. So again, I think SpielMill had it, so that's where I played it online. So
yeah. All right. Just want to point out, 1999, 1998, great years for games. Lost Cities, Merchants of the Middle Ages, Through the Desert, Bonanza was 97.
Tikal.
to call. All of those within 2 to 3 years, most of them in the end of that. Like you could just see the momentum building
for modern board
gaming. It's really interesting.
It's neat. And those existed, I think, in 1999. I was just desperately searching for unique board games and having trouble finding them. I remember buying like the Jumanji board game, and it was terrible, you know, because it was mass market crap. But I was so desperate for big board games. Now, I have to raise the elephant in the room. We both did a top 10, and neither one of us mentioned the game of games from the 1990s, Catan.
Oh, yeah.
And to be honest with you, it's been a long time since I've played Catan. I think that played a big role. And if I played it more, it might be in there. I just don't play it. We don't play it. We have it. We don't play it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've played it once or twice.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sum total of my experiences those times I've played with you. So
for me, it's always been like I would play it once every few years, and it'd be with somebody who plays it a lot. I get destroyed, so it doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I suspect that's what happened when we played. But it didn't hit, and I can tell you, I don't think it would be too much higher, because unless you force me, like, okay, this is this state range you want to pick from, because there's so many other really good games out there, even from the 90s and the early 2000s, that just work better for me than Catan.
I mean, I was perfectly happy with my top 10 without it.
Yep.
So I was like, this is a good top 10. This is a top 10 that I believe in as my top 10. Now, Catan's a good game. So obviously it belongs in many top 10s. So not every top 10 is going to be the same. But I just wanted to bring that up because it is sort of like the
well, there were a bunch of games
of 1990s board games.
There were a lot of games from this time period that that didn't make the list because I just haven't played them. Right. That are I'm sure are very good games that if I played them, like Bus, for example, would be on my list. So that's also something to bear in mind, is that we haven't played all the games. This is just out of the games we played.
Right, and going back to the 90s and before, bit limited comparatively. You're going to find that when we do our 2000s, our 2010s, our 2020s, we're going to play more games in each of those decades than we did in all the previous hundreds of years.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, not of our lives, but we're not vampires. Oh, I mean, I'm pale.
As pale as I am. All right, well, that was our top 10. What is your favorite game from before 2000? When did you start playing games? I'm curious. Is anybody here a gamer from way back then? There's a lot of good war games if you're a war gamer. So I suspect there's some folks that would have like a really hard time narrowing it down. Let us know in the comments what games from back then you like.
Yeah, what's your favorite classic games, really? All right, remember,
every day that you game
is a holiday. Thanks for watching, everyone.